Good morning, everybody. This is Deb from Just Do Something Homestead, and today I am going to show you how to make corn flour. Corn flour is made by grinding dry corn, and today we're going to show you from the beginning steps to the end. This is dried corn. I actually started it last week. Hear how crispy it is? That's what you want to hear. All the moisture has been completely removed from it. And once it is this crisp and this dry, you can grind it. But first, we are going to dry out our corn. I do my corn flour in one of two ways. The first way I'm going to show you today is by using frozen organic sweet corn. The other way is to raise your own organic corn, and then you would be grinding it and it would be ready in the fall. But right now I am running low on both my cornmeal and my corn flour. So I am going to show you how to do it by buying frozen corn. This is a 10-ounce bag of organic corn that I got at Aldi, and I can put about 5 ounces on a tray. So the first thing you're going to do is spread it out on your dehydrator trays. To do this, I am going to use my dehydrator, and if you watch my previous video, I go in detail on which dehydrator I have, where I bought it, how much it costs. So today, I'm just going to focus on how to dry corn. To use frozen corn, you do not need to thaw it first, and you're going to spread it out. You're trying to get it so there's space between each kernel. You don't want it stacked on top of each other. It can actually be touching. It will still dry. If you have any large chunks, like right there's a couple of them stuck together. If you have any large chunks, just break them apart and spread them all out. I have my 2 trays ready to go. One thing I wanted to point out is make sure the lip is down so that when you put your corn on, it's not going to fall off. Let's see if I can show you what I mean. This is the way it should be, so that there's a lip on the inside to hold your small items. And talking small items, I have a mesh cover on top of the tray because these trays, the holes are too big. So you want to get a food grade mesh tray cover, and I bought those off of Amazon. Unfortunately, my dehydrator did not come with them, but these are essential for drying foods. All right, it is so very easy to dehydrate. I'm going to slip that into my dehydrator, and I love mine because it has a digital panel on it, so I am going to turn it on. Now it's showing 10 hours. I don't need 10 hours. Corn takes 6. There we go, set it for 6. Temperature-wise, mine always starts at 158. Again, I don't need it that hot, so I'm gonna bring it down to 122. And when it is finished, it will shut off on its own. All right, I'm gonna let this dry for 6 hours, and then I will be back with you to show you how we make corn flour. I'm going to show you how I grind corn into both corn flour and into cornmeal. This is the grinder that I have, and it says Cornmeal. This is cast iron. I ordered it from Amazon, and it actually comes from Colombia. This entire grain mill is less than $50. This is the Victoria Cornmeal, and it says you can use it for wheat, peanuts, grain, all sorts of things. And so this is my standby. I have moved an old wooden desk into my kitchen because you need to have a lip that this grinder can attach to. And I am fortunate because I have the strong, solid wooden surface. And so I clamp it on there, and I'm going to show you how we assemble this. This part I keep together because the hopper is really hard to get back on. So I have cleaned it, dried it, put it on, but I tend to leave it on there. The first thing you're going to do is insert this into the grinder itself. And it has 2 grinding plates, here, and you're just going to directly insert it so they line up together. Once that is inserted, it goes through the hopper part, and then you're going to put the handle on the opposite end. And so it's going to take 2 hands, but I'm going to put the handle on there and then screw the bolt on, and it is a very large bolt. I called this a bolt. I should be honest with you. I have no idea what it's called. Either way, this piece gets screwed into the handle that attaches to the rest of your grain mill. So if you are a tool person, I am sorry if I called it by the wrong name. This is the next piece that is going to go on there, and this goes on the end over there. And those two pieces, I'll just call them pieces, just like it did, they're going to swing forward, and then you're going to connect it here. So I'm going to add that right now. I've added this entire piece onto the grain mill, and then I tightened these screws on either side. Now, the one thing, the directions that came with it were not in English, so it took a little bit of practice to figure out how to assemble it. This is how you adjust the grain size. So if you're going for flour or you're going for meal, you're going to turn this to change the size. Place my bowl underneath so it will collect the flour or the meal that I am grinding. And the very first time you use it, you're going to want to take all the pieces apart, scrub it really good. Mine was actually pretty dirty when it arrived in the mail. And then fully dry it before you put it back together. I have 2.5 pints that I am going to grind. This is completely dried. Listen, that is dry. And so you don't want any moisture at all in your corn. I dried this for 6 hours, and then I have vacuum sealed it to make sure that it stayed dry. I just added 1 of the pints of corn, and now all you have to do is turn the handle. It's as simple as that. So you're going to start turning it, and it is going to grind. I can hear it going through. All right. And what it does, it comes out the bottom. Now these pieces are still really big, so I'm going to put that back in there, and I'm going to make it tighter. I tightened this by turning this so it was nice and tight because I want a fine powder. And now it is coming out to the cornmeal size that I want. So at this point, I'm just going to turn the handle and grind. This is the first batch of 1 pint that I have ground. It is a fine powder. Now I can grind it even finer if I want flour, but today I am making cornmeal. To make it even finer, you're going to make this tighter, but just know the tighter you make it, the harder it is to turn. But this was not hard. It smells so good. It is so fresh. And once you make your own organic cornmeal, you will never go back to buying it. I am adding my 2nd pint. And while I'm at it, I'm going to open up and add my 1/2 pint. And we're going to see how much cornmeal you can get out of 2.5 pints. That entire process of grinding 2.5 pints only took about 5 to 10 minutes. It does not take a long time. It is a workout, but it is not too difficult. Even this old lady can do it. One way to have the flour separated from the meal is to use a very fine mesh strainer. And so I'm going to be putting that strainer into a canning jar funnel. And I'm going to scoop it in there, and that will just take the very fine flour and separate it from the coarse meal. At this point, all I have to do is shake it back and forth, and the fine ones will go in there, and I'll put the coarser ones in a jar for meal. As I separate my cornmeal from my corn flour, I wanted to point out that this cornmeal can be fed to your chicks and your chickens, and it is fully organic. You know what is in there. I am finished with all the grinding, and I have sifted it. This is the cornmeal itself. You can see the texture of it. And I ended up with 1.5 pints of cornmeal and a 1/4 pint of flour. Now the flour is extremely fine. I use my flour when I'm making fried chicken, and I mix it 50% with flour, 50% corn flour, and that just makes an extra crispy outside. If you do it in your air fryer, it's even better. I am just going to put a plastic lid on my corn flour. I can tell you it is so dark and so bright. When you make your own, it's always fresher. This one, you can use your own corn. I started with frozen corn. I used 3 bags. They were less than $2 a bag for organic frozen corn. And I ended up with, let's see, about 2 pints of cornmeal or corn flour total. And here it shows the texture of my cornmeal. And it's not real coarse, so you could have it much thicker. I like it about this consistency. One One that is filled, I am going to vacuum seal for later use. The one that is a little over halfway, I'm just going to put a plastic lid on it. And so these two are the ones, the flour and the cornmeal, that I am going to use first. To vacuum seal one jar, it is super easy. I start with a circle of paper towel that I'm going to place on top and push that onto my cornmeal. You want to do that so that the fine powder does not go into your vacuum sealer. You don't want it to be ruined. And so I am just going to put the lid on top of that. My jar sealer is going to go on top of the flat like that. And I am going to use my little handheld vacuum sealer. This is by Food Saver. And you can go back to my previous videos to find out where I got it, how to use it, and everything else. But for now, I am just going to seal this jar. All right, when the light goes off, it is sealed. Let's listen for the pop. There it is. You just need to test the seal, make sure it's sunk in, turn it upside down. That is completely sealed. Put a ring on it and date it. And this one you can save for up to a year. I've actually saved it for up to 2 years, but a year is what I aim for. The quality starts to go down after a year. And there you have it. That is how you can make your own organic cornmeal and corn flour. You, of course, can grow your own corn and do this as well. Thank you so much for joining us. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share, and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.